And I'm going to go ahead and start the webinar to allow people in. Okay.
Sounds good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're letting people in to the webinar right now. We're going to start in a few minutes. We're just letting people in to get settled. We'll start at 11:30. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to today's HLAA Showcase webinar with our ReSound on Auracast. Broadcast audio for hearing aids. The future of wireless sound has arrived. Thank you for joining us. My name is Carla Smolin. I am the Chapter Membership Coordinator for HLAA and your host today. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be available for playback at a later time on the HLAA website at hearingloss.org. I'm going to start by giving you some tech tips. I'm sorry. The caption bar has a CC icon. Please enable the captions on your CC bar. You'll be able to also change subtitle settings on your bar as well. We will be using the Q&A icon for question and answers later today. Please use that to facilitate questions. Please only use the chat box for technical questions only. I'm going to go ahead and stop share right now. Unfortunately, my tech tips are not available. So Jen, go ahead and share your screen. And we are joined today by Jenn Schumacher from ReSound. She is the Manager of Audiology Communications from ReSound. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presentation to her. Go ahead, Jenn.
Hi there, everybody. Let me just make sure my presentation goes into share mode. There we go. Everyone can see my title screen, hopefully. All right. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you all today. Our topic will be Auracast, broadcast audio, and hearing aids and how they will work together. So it's a really exciting topic. I'm sure many of you are waiting on pins and needles for this new technology to be rolled out. So our agenda today, we will be chatting just with a little bit of background on wireless streaming and Bluetooth in hearing aids. I think it's helpful to have a little bit kind of historical knowledge, if you will, on how those work. And then we'll jump into what's current, what's new with Bluetooth low energy audio and Auracast. How is it different from our previous technologies and what makes it so exciting? And then just a very quick introduction to our newest hearing aid, the ReSound Nexia. It's actually the first ready for Auracast hearing aid. It's available today. So just to give you a little introduction about that device and its abilities, the abilities that we already have, the capabilities with Auracast moving forward. So anytime I like to talk about hearing aids, I think it's helpful to talk about what are some of the problems that we use hearing aids to solve. So with hearing loss, anyone who's experienced this struggle, which is probably most of you, those communication struggles, those difficult environments that you experience, what do you want most from your hearing aid to help you with? Usually those kinds of situations are noisy. They involve multiple people. They might involve different types of technologies, such as a phone, a TV, things where the audio quality might not be so good. And when you have difficulties with hearing, that makes it all the more worse. So just as an example, from a recent survey in the US called Market Track, this was done in 2022. These are the top 5 situations that people with hearing loss who answered that survey mentioned that they wanted more help with listening in those situations. So at home with family members, conversations in noise, talking on a cell phone or a smartphone, conversations in noise with just one other person, and then even just watching TV with others. Now, if you wear hearing aids or are familiar with hearing aids, you often hear us either your audiologist or those of us in the hearing industry talk about directional microphones. This is always the top technology we tend to talk about in terms of helping with that speech and noise problem. So the directional microphones are actually the microphones built into the hearing aid. And the idea is that they're supposed to give a narrow beam right in front of you, assuming that you want to talk to the person that's directly across from you, because most of the time, or at least a good amount of the time, as the way we communicate, we're typically talking to someone that's in front of us. Now, we talk about directional microphones all the time in hearing aids, but if you look at even these top 5 listening situations, really directional microphones built into the hearing aids are really only helping us meet the needs of 3 of these situations. Talking on a cell phone, watching TV with others. You could argue that directional microphones might be involved if perhaps your phone is in front of you, or you have the TV volume up and you're all watching it together. But really, those situations are going to be pretty limited by just using the hearing aids alone. So that's where we start to bring in Bluetooth and wireless streaming into the hearing aids. You'll see in a few minutes, there are so many different ways to stream sound from some sort of device like a smartphone or a microphone directly into your hearing aids. So right now I'm keeping it very high level and just saying wireless streaming of sound. So for instance, this device here that I have on the screen is a remote microphone. So this conversation partner, the woman, is wearing the microphone, and her voice, the sound coming into that microphone, is being streamed directly into her conversation partner's ears because he is wearing hearing aids. Another version, of course, that we're familiar with and that we'll be talking about most today is the direct streaming of sound from a smart device, such as your cell phone, directly into the hearing aids. And of course, using Bluetooth wireless streaming, using that technology in conjunction with the proprietary streaming protocols available in the hearing aids, those 2 streaming protocols work together to allow sound to be streamed directly from your cell phone into the hearing aids. And we've had that now for a decade, which is crazy to think about. But our hearing aids first were released in 2013, which was a direct from iPhone or a made from iPhone direct streaming into the hearing aids. So my point, of course, is that when we add in those wireless streaming capabilities in the various forms that they come in, we can actually tackle all 5 of these listening situations in a pretty effective way. So it's really an important kind of technology, and one that I think is still underutilized. Not everyone is even really aware of all the options that are available when it comes to streaming, or the different types or different situations that can be addressed with it. So it's always something that I like to share with people whenever I have a chance to talk to them, because I think it is a really important but also underutilized technology. Just to give you a couple of examples of how helpful it can be, if we go back to that little remote microphone, which for ReSound, we call it the multi-mic, that's just our proprietary name. We actually did a study years ago looking at how much better can people understand speech in a noisy and echoey or reverberant environment using either just their hearing aids alone or adding in the multi-mic. And when we added in the multi-mic in those difficult, noisy environments, and of course, this was done in the lab, so this is not something that we measured out in the real world, but in a laboratory setting with a noisy environment, we were able to increase people's average speech understanding and noise by 5 times just by adding in this little multi-mic. So it's a really powerful tool for cutting out noise and sending in a clean, stronger signal with a lot less noise and reverberation directly into hearing aids. And for those of you who may be familiar with an FM system, this is a really similar type of technology. The way that it works is very different, but it's very much the same type of concept. It's just the technology is different, but the concept is the same, where you have this microphone really close to the speaker's mouth, and then it sends the sound directly into the hearing aid. So we would expect to see similar types of benefit with an FM system as well in those types of environments. Streaming with FaceTime video. So if you have your hearing aids in, and you're taking a phone call from your iPhone and doing FaceTime, we did another study years ago that shows when we compare to someone talking on the phone, just the audio signal and kind of the old school way of holding the receiver up to your ear with two hearing aids in the ear, holding it up to one. If instead you just stream the sound, the phone call into both hearing aids and have that FaceTime video so that you can also get some of those lip reading and audio visual cues from the speaker, you can increase people's speech understanding by 77% for people with a mild to moderate hearing loss. And even for people with more of a severe to profound hearing loss, we saw a 72% increase in speech understanding. And again, this was another lab type study, but it just goes to show how much more benefit you can get, not just from streaming the hearing aid, but then also having that audio streaming work closely together with existing technology in your iPhone, in this case, a FaceTime video, to make the listening and understanding experience even better. So I've convinced you that wireless technology in hearing aids is amazing and you should adopt it. The problem, of course, is that with so many different benefits and the flexibility, the different situations that wireless technology can address, the downside is that we have a ton of options and it is really complex. It's complex for people who use hearing aids. It's complex for their family members, sometimes to get them set up. And it's complex for the audiologists who have to help patients understand what their options are and get them set up. So we're all kind of on board with the fact that we love wireless, but it is a lot of work to keep track of all the different types of signals and platforms and compatibility between not just the hearing aids, but also your smartphone or other smart device that might be streaming with it. It's a lot of work. So that's part of the reason why when we get into Auracast, you'll see that this is a nice move because it's going to help hopefully start to streamline and simplify things. I forgot I have my little animations here. So I have the same information available from that slide here in kind of more of a graphical format in terms of timeline. So wireless options, we start here with the analog systems. Telecoil, first introduced commercially in 1938. That's absolutely amazing. So that's what, 85 years and strong, going strong. So let's just give a big shout out to Telecoil for being around so long. Same with FM system. That has also been a technology around for a long time and is still very important today. Then it took quite a while for us to be able to jump into the digital realm. And classic Bluetooth here really was first introduced going on 25 years ago. However, in conjunction with hearing aids, classic Bluetooth was still way too power hungry to really be used by hearing aids. So it's really not until more 2010, 2013, with the introduction of what's called Bluetooth Low Energy, that we were able to start utilizing Bluetooth technology in hearing aids and start working more closely with that and the actual streaming of sound. Because streaming sound from any device into a hearing aid, it takes a lot of power. And hearing aids are just so small. They are limited by the amount of energy and battery size that we can have in the device. So we really needed Bluetooth Low Energy to come on the scene before we were able to get that streaming capability. Lately, the newest kind of technology for streaming has been now Android compatibility, which is a lot more difficult than MFI because Android is much more, it's much more of a universal platform with a lot more devices. So it just takes a lot longer to create options, wireless options that are actually compatible with just the vast amount of devices that are available. But it's certainly becoming much more common today. But however, starting in 2020, the Bluetooth group basically came out and said, okay, we are going to develop a new platform called Bluetooth Low Energy Audio. So the A is for audio, as one of my colleagues likes to say. The audio part is what's new about this new Bluetooth technology. And I'll get a little bit more into detail with that in just a moment. But with Bluetooth Low Energy Audio, also comes Auracast. And really, a new era of communication has begun. This is going to become the new standard for streaming audio in pretty much all devices. It's going to take a while to roll that out, but it is coming. So let's talk a little bit, before we jump into Auracast, let's talk a little bit about Bluetooth low energy audio, because that's really the technology behind Auracast that allows all of this to happen. So we've seen this slide before. We've got a smartphone that is connected to this woman's hearing aids. So they're paired together. And then Bluetooth technology, Bluetooth low energy, is able to stream sound coming from her cell phone directly into her hearing aids. Now with Bluetooth low energy audio, there are some changes to that. First of all, there is going to be less latency with Bluetooth low energy audio versus the existing or the previous generation of Bluetooth low energy. Less latency basically means we are able to move those data packages. So all of that digitized sound that's coming from the phone is able to move faster from one device into the other. We can transfer it faster. So less latency means that you should be able to receive the signal a little bit faster and a little bit more in tune or in time with when the device is actually transmitting it. With less latency means typically you get a better sound quality. The other thing that helps with sound quality for Bluetooth low energy audio is also that we have more bandwidth. So more of the speech signal is basically able to be encoded digitally and sent via the low energy audio signal, meaning you as the person hearing that signal, once it's converted back into an audio signal, there's more clarity, there's more fidelity, there's more frequency information there. So it's going to sound better and a little bit more clear and a little bit more natural than before. And probably, maybe one of the best parts is the lower battery drain. So low energy audio is going to have potentially about half of the battery drain as the previous Bluetooth low energy platform. So that is huge when it comes, especially for hearing aids, because again, we have hearing aids are such small devices. We're really limited by the amount of battery power we can get inside such a small device. So anytime we have a increase in, or I should say a decrease in battery drain, that means big things for streaming, better sound quality, and more streaming with less either charging or changing batteries. So because of those characteristics, Bluetooth low energy audio should be more streamlined because again, this is going to become a new standard. A lot more devices are going to use it. Used with more devices. It will take a little bit of time for this to roll out over the years, but soon Bluetooth low energy audio will start appearing. In fact, we just heard, I think as recently as last week or so, the new Samsung Galaxy phone has an update to its operating system. And when you update to it, you will start getting Bluetooth low energy audio. So that's really exciting because that tells us that other manufacturers of devices are on board with low energy audio. And once you download that software update, if you have that model of phone, it's their newest model. I think it's the S23. You can start using low energy audio. So it's really exciting. It's going to start coming out more and more as time goes on. This, of course, also helps to make our wireless options a bit more standardized. So I am here from the hearing aid company ReSound talking to you about this, but this is something that's going to work with every hearing aid manufacturer at some point. You know, as long as that hearing aid manufacturer releases a hearing aid that is compatible with Bluetooth low energy audio, you'll be able to benefit from that stream signal no matter what type of hearing aid you're using. So it's going to become a more standardized version of streaming audio across different hearing aids, but also just electronic devices in general. So it's really exciting. And we do expect it to be the preferred audio standard for wireless communication for the next 20 years or so. So this is kind of, you know, you saw almost 25 years ago, classic Bluetooth was first introduced in 1999. the Bluetooth group is kind of seeing this as the next big release. So Bluetooth low energy audio should really be our standard for quite a long time to come. Now to move on to the Auracast piece. So Auracast broadcast audio refers specifically to a sound signal that is using Bluetooth low energy audio, but that can actually, that's actually kind of being sent out from some sort of listening device to other people that are listening in the room. So it's a new way of essentially sharing audio sound. The really cool thing about this is that Auracast will be something that is pretty user-friendly, or at least the hope is that it will be user-friendly, something that's accessible for everybody. So whether you have a hearing loss and you use hearing aids, or perhaps you have hearing loss and use cochlear implants, or no hearing aids, maybe you use some sort of earbud or wearable, maybe you don't use anything at all, or you have normal hearing, no matter what your hearing status or how you like to listen, Auracast will be usable by everybody and accessible for everybody. So depending on just the way you like to listen to sound, especially in more public places, you'll be able to take advantage of Auracast, which is really exciting. So sharing audio. Auracast, I see this as almost changing what does broadcast mean. It's not just coming from your TV or from the radio. It's not necessarily an official sound being sent out. It can actually be something that you share with the people in the same room as you or with your friends, your family. You can actually create your own private broadcasts from any compatible device, whether that's a smartphone or a tablet or a TV, and share that with everyone else in the room. Auracast will definitely become the new standard, we think, for public address systems, assistive listening. So more of those traditional places you might think of looped systems, like a theater, a place of worship. In this instance, we have a man in like a train station or an airport. Eventually, Auracast, the idea is that you would be able to actually receive, announcements or other kind of sound, important information through Auracast automatically when you're in that location. And then another cool application would be public TV watching. So in this example, we have a man at the gym watching TV. Instead of everyone having 10 different TVs blaring sound, you can actually just not play any sound and just kind of Auracast jump into whichever TV broadcast you want to hear. Another example would be like a sports bar. So if you're at a sports bar and there's multiple TVs playing different games, everyone can decide which TV, which game do they want to watch. How do they want to receive the audio signal? Are they going to use it with hearing aids or with earbuds? And then kind of plug into whatever it is that they want to listen to. So it's going to be a really cool way for everyone to get to decide, in those more public places, what do I want to listen to or what do I want to watch? So how does it work? Essentially, you have to have three pieces. You need to have first an Auracast transmitter. So transmitter is what we would think of as the device playing a sound that you want to listen to, whether that's a TV, a PA system. We have listed here our TV Streamer Plus, which is our proprietary wireless device that you can plug into your TV that will then stream the sound directly into your hearing aids. It's actually Auracast compatible. It's available now. Any kind of assisted listening device, anything that sends out a sound signal, as long as it's compatible with Bluetooth low energy audio, it can become an Auracast transmitter. Then you have to have some sort of what Bluetooth calls an Auracast assistant. So that is either, it's like a menu. It will be like a menu in your smartphone, almost like connecting to a Wi-Fi network. It will be a very similar type of interface where you walk into a room, your phone is receiving several, one or maybe several Auracast signals, and it will give you an option of plugging into any one of those signals, depending on what you want to listen to. Our hearing aids come with its own app as well. It's called the Smart 3D app. That too will work like an Auracast assistant. So if you want to utilize our hearing aids, the Nexia hearing aids, and the app together, you can also access Auracast that way as well, if you don't want to use the native app on your phone. Then your smartphone also kind of acts as that intermediary between your Auracast receiver. So the Auracast receiver is whatever device you're using that you're listening through. So today, right now, ReSound Nexia hearing aids are Auracast ready. They are ready to be Auracast receivers. In the future, we're going to see all kinds of listening devices, headphones, earbuds, cochlear implants, which are also, depending on the brand, and updates to the processor. Cochlear Nucleus has an update coming that will also be Auracast ready, and I'm sure other companies are working on something similar. So everyone's kind of working to get Auracast ready to where you can download a software update or get a new device and be able to stream with Auracast. So as time goes on, more and more of these streaming receivers and transmitters will become available. And of course, your Auracast assistant and whatever you're listening with do have to have a paired Bluetooth connection, but that's something that we're all pretty used to today. That's still the case at this point, anytime you want to stream sound from your phone. So yeah, the cool thing here, even though Bluetooth low energy audio and Auracast are not really common now, by the year 2027, it's projected that there will be 3 billion different types of Bluetooth low energy audio enabled devices out there. So that's just a short, oh my gosh, I would say 4 years, but that's not even fair, really 3 years by the time we get there. So this is coming, and it's coming very soon. Similar here, if you think more about Auracast in terms of locations or places where it might be used, 2.5 million locations are projected to offer Auracast by 2030. So these are the types of situations like a lecture hall or a theater, a place of worship where you might have a looped system in some of those places. And just to be clear, I don't think loops are going away. I think this is going to be very complementary where either you have a public place that is not looped yet, but perhaps they will choose to invest in Auracast instead because it will likely be a lot less expensive and difficult. The range as well, so the actual physical range or the amount of space or people you can fit into that Auracast streaming range will also be larger than a loop. But for places that already have a loop system, I don't see those going away. I just see that Auracast and the loop will work side by side. Same with telecoil. I don't think telecoil is going anywhere. I just think that it's something that's going to complement and kind of work hand in hand. And then people can kind of decide, do they want to stay with telecoil? Do they want to move over to Auracast as the years go by? So this is ReSound Nexia. This is our new, brand new hearing aid. It was just released on the market, and it's the world's first ready for Auracast hearing aid. So honestly, our hearing aid is kind of sitting around right now, waiting for Auracast and Bluetooth low energy audio to become more common. But it is able to stream with Auracast and the TV streamer. So that's the two ReSound products that are currently working together that can use Auracast. And then as the years go on and more products become available, Nexia will be right there and ready to do Auracast, which is really exciting. It's also very small. Of course, this picture is trying to show you how small our device is. This is the smallest device that we offer in Nexia, but we also have 2 other receiver in the ear hearing aids, one of which is our larger size 13 RIE that does have telecoil available. So you can actually have a Nexia device with both telecoil and Auracast streaming capability. And then just to give you, I know we're running out of time here. This is my last slide. I just want to show you something that, as an audiologist kind of blew my mind in terms of what kind of possibilities we'll have with Auracast. So right now, with our Nexia hearing aids, you have the ability in conjunction with our ReSound Smart 3D app, you can set up an Auracast stream. You can either join a public broadcast or you can set up your own personal streaming Auracast. If you set up a personal streaming Auracast, you can have people using ReSound Nexia devices or some sort of paired device. You can have up to 50 people, 50 different devices connect to that personal string that you set up, which is crazy. There's never been a way to connect maybe more than a few devices at a time when it comes to hearing aid streaming. So it's so cool to think that you could have an entire room full of people all connected to one Auracast. In a public setting, when a device is sending out, transmitting that Auracast, you can have at least at this point an unlimited. I don't know how unlimited means here, but essentially you can have an unlimited amount of people connected to that broadcast, which we've never really seen before. I think it's so amazing to think that the lower latency, the less battery drain, and just kind of the more capabilities that low energy audio brings to the table, we can have so many more people joining in on that same type of broadcast. Just really amazing, very exciting. Again, it's so new that we really haven't seen it work or play out in real life yet. That is something that's just starting to happen. But of course, over the next couple of years, we're going to see more and more examples of it. So yeah, we're just really excited to see. Ta-da! We've now added Bluetooth low energy audio and Auracast to the mix, but hopefully that will help streamline some of these options and just be a really great way to kind of connect to all the sounds out in the world, no matter how you like to hear. All right, thank you. I know we're right at noon. So I will go ahead and let Carla kind of take over with the Q&A. Just to give everyone my information, again, I'm Jenn Schumacher. My email is there at the bottom. You can always email me and ask questions. And if we don't really have time to go through all the questions, which I don't think we will, I will ask Carla to send those to me, and then I will send her my answers back so that you guys have those available. But with that, I will stop share. Perfect. Okay.
Hi, Jenn. It's Melissa. Carla actually had some power issues at her home, ooh, so I'm now kind of taking over for Carla. And I'm not sure that we really have time to go through many of the questions. We've gotten a lot of them, but we can certainly get them to you and then have you get the answers, and then we can put them up on the website along with the webinar and your PowerPoint. But awesome. There were a couple of things that were kind of common themes among the questions. And one is this technology, obviously it's in the hearing aids, but can people really utilize it right now? Are there places that it can be utilized, or are we still waiting for it to catch up with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, of course it depends, but in general, I would say we are more waiting. So I did give the example of the Samsung Galaxy S23. So that's Samsung's newest phone. They have a software update that is going to switch the streaming from Bluetooth low energy to Bluetooth low energy audio. So let's say you have that phone and you download the update and you just bought a new computer for the holiday season, and it is also has Auracast or Bluetooth low energy audio capabilities. You could then kind of set your hearing aids, your smartphone, and that laptop and kind of set them all up together to work and do Auracast. But again, most people in most places haven't adopted it yet. So it is going to be a little bit of a matter of kind of waiting for the technology to catch up. But if you think, let's say you go out today and decide you want to purchase Nexia hearing aids, we would hope that you're going to get at least 5 years or more out of those hearing aids. And certainly by 5 years from now, we would expect Auracast to be way more common and utilized a lot more so that you would then be ready to use those and have kind of future-proof your hearing aids essentially.
Okay, wonderful. I think that's really going to be it for the questions, but we will get those to you. And awesome. Like I said, we will, once we get your answers and we put the webinar and the PowerPoint up, we will put the questions and your answers up as well, so folks can check the HLAA website for all of that information. And just want to thank you for being here and talking about this, and want to thank our live captioner, Lisa, for providing our wonderful captions for us today. And thank you, everybody. If you have any more questions, go ahead and put them in. Like I said, we'll be getting those to Jenn to get answers. And thank you all.
Thank you guys. I can't wait to see your questions. You as a group always have like the best questions. I enjoy them. So I can't wait to go through them and get those answers to you.
All right. Well, wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye.